So, successfully swapped the CREC into 2012 S4. It's a rainy day, so I thought, you know what, let's try and put all this stuff together as to what I did to make this work. It's not a drop-in, in its sense that everything's not going to bolt up, right? There's maybe about 20% of the stuff is different. The regular homeowner could probably do this, like doing this stuff at home kind of thing. If you have a cherry picker and an engine stand and a driveway that you can do it in. So the main complication I had on the CCBA is this little guy here. I had to make this custom part, help with a friend to get it printed. I designed it in Fusion. Basically what this does is it adapts the CREC thermostat to the coolant crossover pipe going between the heads, the cylinder heads, to go to the thermostat, right? So you've got that little crossover pipe that goes into a little port like that on top of the CREC, and that's what goes now this to the CREC thermostat. I hope I didn't mess all that up, but yeah. Reason being, on the CREC, they have a different crossover pipe. It's like this, and it bolts to the top. There's no little hose spout on the side of this or in the back of this going into the thermostat like on the CCBA. So it's a little different, more sandwiched. It does fit underneath the supercharger. There's no issue. Why couldn't I use this though? Because I did bolt it up, but then I found out very quick that when I want to put the power steering on the CCBA, so it's got a hydraulic power steering pump, this little pipe or straight section is the issue. It goes right into the pump, and that's where the pump bolts up. On the CCBA, this pipe is actually angled upwards at a 45, so it goes over the pump. It doesn't get in the way. If you had a CTUB, I think you can use that because you only have electric steering, you don't have a power steering pump, right? So you should be able to use that. My case, I couldn't. So I had to make this little adapter and use the old pipe so that I can go over that power steering pump. So that was one of the things. The other issue, well, you can't use the CCBA thermostat as well. I don't know if I really covered this, but in here, this is actually a CCBA engine, or CTUB actually, sorry. Same thing though. In here, it's a different size. Here, it's a different size as well for the CREC. And then I believe it's this bolt, it's out more, right? It's elongated out. So you can't just bolt it up. Even if you made somehow try and mix and match parts, you can't get the thermostat to seal properly inside the block. You'd have to build an adapter as well to try and get the top O-ring, that big O-ring, to seal, because the back bolt right here doesn't fit. So even if you welded on a bunch of metal or aluminum to here and then tapped it, all right, but then you would have to weld onto here and then hone it. It doesn't make sense. So that's why I came out with the adapter, so that I can make that work. One of the other, sorry, I keep saying trying to remember all this. One of the other issues I have is here on the timing assembly. So you're gonna have to use all of the the CREC timing chains, the guides, everything. Do not go and buy anything for CCBA. I think I used like one chain guide, which was, I think, this one. Everything else is different. Okay, there is nothing that's the same. The chain routing is different. They don't even use this guide up top. They actually go under the balance shaft that's here. The chain goes under that instead of going over. So you've got to use everything CCBA, including the oil pump. The oil pump sprocket, I found out, has one tooth less, right? So it's got one sprocket less on it, one tooth, and the chain is a different size. So if you try and get the chain that you order for a CCBA with the oil pump sprocket from a CCBA, it won't work, right? Like you have to use the CREC oil pump sprocket with the correct timing chain, this little small little chain, and it literally just goes around the crank to here and back, and it's got a little tensioner here. You can Google up images for that. One of the other issues, main issues, I guess you could say, is this little guy over here. It's a sprocket like this. It goes here. They actually move this outwards a bit on the CREC, and they position it differently. So what you're going to find, which I found out, is the center bearing is different, not the sprocket. The sprocket is the same, but they've got this little bearing that's in the center of that sprocket, and these holes are actually offset, right? So There's nothing you can really do. You have to go and buy this for the CREC. If you don't have a CREC completed block, you're gonna have to go buy that. And then the issue you run into is the chain tensioner, which is a mess here. It's like this, you know, the usual ones that go bad, right? It goes on to the cylinder head. And on the CREC, it's the same one. The CTUB, the CCBA, the CREC, they're all the same chain tensioner. But what you're gonna run into is when you install this area here, right? This little area is gonna touch the chain sprocket on that side with CCBA or CTUB heads. So if you're installing the same heads from your, you know, B8 or B8.5 car onto a CREC block, you're gonna have to modify this. So what I did, unless you want to try and figure out how to use CREC heads on there, but then you got the dual VVTs, right? You got to complicate that. And I would imagine you would go lean. You go lean if you disabled, would you just, I'm not sure, man. I'm guessing you're gonna go lean unless you had it tuned for it. So you'd have to get a custom tune, redo the air maps for it. Anyways, that's a whole other story. But if you were to use your old heads on it, you're gonna have to slot these holes. What? Yeah, slot them. You got 4 holes, slot the holes in the direction that you need. You don't need to make them larger because the bolt's not gonna secure, but you have to slot them, okay? And when you slot them, you can bring it over about 3 mil. That's all you're missing is about 3 mil. That's what she said, right? But if you slot it 3 mil, you can get this over, and then you could almost clear it, the sprockets. So what I did is I just, a little butchered it a bit, but I heated this up, bent it slightly at the end, and I'm not saying the whole thing, just the very end where it goes into this little groove, and you grind away at it a little bit, just enough to pass maybe about 2 or 3 mil of the sprocket through this little opening that's here. And that's the main issue. I don't know if I can get to it, but here, how it splits, right? The sprocket's gonna align with that perfectly right in the middle, and you just get a little bit of this out so you can get some clearance, and it works, okay? I didn't have to redesign it or anything. I just slotted the hole. I didn't enlarge the hole. I just slotted it so I can move it over. The oil passages still line up, still works fine. Car's right there, and it runs, right? We've already got it to operating temperature. It runs. The only issue I'm having right now is I printed one of these in like a nylon, and it has a little seam in here from the 3D print, and I didn't hone it out. So it's leaking right there. So I'm gonna change it with this aluminum one that I've got, and it should work. I don't think there was anything else that I had. It was really just the sprocket, the thermostat, which was the crossover pipe as well. Everything else works. Besides the common things, like a lot of people might not know, but the timing cover is different, right? The timing cover on the CREC engine has the incorporated oil filter housing. So you're going to need a timing cover. You can't put your timing cover on it, even if you wanted to, because of these coolant and oil passages right here, they're different. Like all this is different on the CREC. So you have to use the CREC timing cover. You're also going to have to use it because that's where they relocate the oil cooler. So the oil cooler goes on the back of the engine, bolts to the timing cover. And there's room, there's no issue. It just bolts there. There's the side of the block right here, right? It doesn't go there anymore. This is all different. So that's different. It doesn't bolt up there, bolts to the back. And they had this engine, the CREC, in Europe in this body, right? Like in the B8.5. So they have this little blocker plug that goes onto the back of it to stop coolant, because there's 2 ports for coolant on it, on the back of it. So one you block off, the other one goes to the front. So you're gonna, the front? No, one of them, one of them's gonna go to the front. You're gonna have the line that's here, that plastic pipe basically going from the thermostat area going back. That actually becomes an aluminum pipe. You have to use that one on the CREC, and it goes basically same routing, goes up over here, that goes to the heater core. Then you've got another pipe that's going to be on this cooler. You're going to block off one, there's going to be like a 90°, and that pipe's going to come out to about here if you get the rubber hose for it, and it goes to this metal pipe that they have. Now if I have it around here, if I bought it just to see if I can use it, that's what they have. So it actually goes to the timing cover in the back, and then this goes to like where there's a little ground strap from the ignition coils on the side of the head. It goes there, and then you can basically run a hose to this, to the front. It's a little complicated, right? To this pipe. Okay, so whether it be on the old style or this, it's got to go to this little, oh sorry, my bad, this one right here, right? That's going down along the driver's side of the block, or bank 2, it's going down, and that is going to go and feed the cooler. Now why am I holding this and why is it on the car? Well, again, power steering pump. This hits the power steering pump, right? So if you had a CTUB, you can just use this and you'd be done. What I had to do is go and get some 5/8 hose, rubber hose, right? And just run it from the back of the engine under towards the engine mount and then towards the front. What I did is I took, this is the little tube, there's 2 of these that go right here, right in this area, holding it upside down, but they go in this area. And I took one of them out and I used it because it goes right here and it's behind or sandwiched between the air compressor pulley and the block, and it just fits perfect. So I've used that for now. There's no area to bolt it to on the CREC. There actually is like a little spot here, but I'm gonna have to make an L bracket to fit to like this area on the other pipe. So these pipes come apart. There's usually 2 twisted sort of together, and you can get one of them off, and it basically, you have the pipe for the crossover, comes down, goes to this thing, this doodad, right? Brings it down to the bottom. I brought it out this way, and then I just brought it along the bottom. I brought it, sorry, like this, and then back, right? So it works over the header, at the top of it, basically with the valve cover. It's almost in line with the coil packs, basically, sitting on top of the coil pack. So it comes up and then goes that way. And all I did was just use like a 90 hose adapter, another, no, I just went 90, came up, the hose doesn't kink, and then a 90 in the back to bring it to another hose. So that's for the oil cooler. What else did I do? I think that was it. It was just adapting the timing cover. Adapting the timing cover, getting the sump. So you're gonna need a block, CREC block, the upper and lower sump, the pan. That's your main hardware that you need, right, to make that work. You can't recycle those parts. They all have to be CREC. Obviously the timing cover with all of its bits inside. The crank, man, you can use whatever crank you want. You can use the 3 liter, you can use the 3.2 liter, obviously on the same style motor. You can't go and get like a VR6 or something. You use like an A6, what did I get? Like a 2006 crank? That era, the 3.2 V6, the thing that looks exactly the same, right? You can get that crank, put it with rods. So I got stroker rods from Brian over at Performance Builds. He got me a set of those. And then we've got diamond pistons for the Huracan, R8, that kind of thing. We've got 6 of them. So you got bank 1, bank 2. Just order 3 of each side instead of getting the whole V10, right? So I got 3 of each side, bank 1, bank 2. That was fine. One of the main benefits why I did the CREC, liners. CREC comes with like a 1 mil liner already, whereas the older blocks, these are all Alusil. And then obviously, you know, when you get an Alusil block that has an issue, you either gotta get it relined or find somewhere that can repair Alusil. The amount of money that it was to get a block sleeved, it didn't make sense for me. I got the block itself for, what is it, 1,000 even cash. I think I even paid $950 cash for the block. Canadian. Okay, that's a big thing, Canadian cash, not American Eagle dollars, right? This is cheap fucking Canadian dollar, Canadian maple syrups. So the sump, the pan, so the upper and lower sump and the pan, I think I got that. I must be in $300 for all that. These are all used parts, right? And then the timing cover I think was another 100. So for $1,500 Canadian, I got my entire block, sump, all those bits, everything that I needed, and then the rest was just a mix and match that I already had. Everything. Everything? Yeah, everything. What's another thing? Oh, the PCV. PCV, it fits. Doesn't matter which one you use. The PCVs all fit, except if you were to get, and that's where I ran into an issue, I wanted to actually use a 3.2 PCV, which I have around here somewhere. Even the 3-liter PCV, they're all very similar, right? They're like this, and they've got those 2 ports. The 3-liter actually has the port here for the blower, and I wanted to use this because I wanted to delete the PCV from the supercharger, so this was the best option, right? Problem is that on a CREC, they only have one of these ports, they don't have 2, and reason being is there's clearance. Remember that timing cover that's different? Well, the timing cover with the oil filter housing actually hits this, so you can't put this. You cannot put a 3.2 or a regular 3-liter from the CCBA or CTUB. Can't put that PCV into a CREC. They've got the 1 port, and then because they have that 1 port, the valve covers are different. So you've got the passenger side, which is bank 1 for me. The passenger side does not have any venting, right? There's no venting for the PCV on that cover, it's blanked off. The driver's side, which is bank 2, it's got a port there, just like the regular ones do for the CCBA, CTUB, same valve cover. So just like this is the port I'm talking about, right? So on the bank 2, it has it, which is this one, it has that port. On bank 1 for the CREC, it does not have this, it's just cut off, it's not there, right? So you either keep your valve covers and then blank this off, which kind of looks kind of gay, or you go and get yourself another set of valve covers and get the CREC ones. And then you have a little pipe now that goes from the PCV to the bank 2 valve cover. Just one little pipe. You got to get that. There's no aftermarket, obviously, right? Such minimal supply. So you got to get the original one. A lot of the parts that I got for this were actually from Sparto, so SPARETO.com. They're over in Europe, and it was a lot cheaper to get stuff from them than it was locally from the dealer. Yeah, there's some shipping, but man, I'd order a bunch of parts. Shipping was like $20, $30, $40. Okay, and it was pretty fast. Just make sure you order all your stuff. I had to make like, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 orders. Like, it was ridiculous. But yeah, basically here's the old oil cooler. It's very similar to it. It doesn't bolt up. You got to go and get your oil cooler for the CREC. You cannot recycle this one. Completely different. Obviously that's the port. That's the same on the CREC, but they don't have this extra port. Oil filter housing. It's not the same. It ain't the same. That was a pain in the butt because that was brand new too. What else? Dudes, that's it, man. I think everything else was the same besides like some nuts and bolts, some gaskets, the brackets, 2 brackets actually that hold the knock sensor and what, O2, I think, one on each side, right on the back of the block. They don't fit. I looked up, honestly I didn't even look up what they used for the CRC. I'm guessing it's just a different bracket, but on mine I can't fit them because of that oil filter housing. They don't fit. So I just tie wrapped them to fixed areas that were there. They ain't gonna move. It actually is even cleaner. I can get in there now properly without those brackets. What else we got? Oil pump. Oil pump was a pain in the butt. So the oil pump, which is CREC, this is a CREC one. It's different. You cannot use the CCBA one. It does not work. I got screwed a bit. I ordered this one. It was cheap. It was about $100. I was like, yes, I scored a good deal. Only to find out that Audi at some point in time superseded or actually obsoleted the pickup. So you cannot order that little plastic tube pickup that has the screen and the filter in it that sucks the oil into the pump. You can't buy that. So this is scrap. Well, I can sell it on eBay maybe to somebody that has a Series C and just needs to change a pump. So I had to buy a brand new one, and I think those are, they're not cheap. right? They're not cheap. So that was one of the biggest things. That was about, what, 600 bucks Canadian for the pump. So that would have to add to my total cost. But if you had a grenaded motor and you had all kinds of bits that went, you're buying a pump anyways. So I didn't really include that into the price of the motor itself. What else? That's it. Like everything else is the same. Whether it be solenoids that are going in the side of the block for the oil pressure, they're all the same. All the bearings for the crank and the rods, that doesn't really matter. They're all the same. Just had to look at the colors, like the color matching, right, to make sure you're okay. I think this one took yellow caps, I think it took. I don't remember, don't quote me on that. I know it's written on the crank. Crank's in the car now, so I can't verify that. Headers, bolt patterns, all that fit, because I'm using the CCBA heads. Everything else is the same. Nothing else stands out. I got a list of parts just all sitting here. I got valve covers that are brand new. I bought those in advance thinking that they were the same, and they weren't. I got a 3 liter PCV. I got a brand new 3.2. See if they can return that. I got a bunch of shit, man. Even the plastic pipe that goes from the thermostat to the back of the car for the heater core. I got one of those. See if they return that. You can't use that. I didn't know. Sorry, a lot of this stuff was different, but it was fun. It was fun, but we got it in. It's running. Just gonna change some fluids because I haven't changed them for about 2-3 years for transmission and differential. So we're gonna get all that in there. It's gonna be all fresh. Idle smooth, man. It's really smooth. Got the rods balanced with the pistons, the whole crank assembly, even the rings they wanted to balance everything. So everything is really nice. I did all this work myself. So if anybody's to blame, it's gonna be myself. The only thing I relied on somebody for was the balancing of it. And then I had to polish the crank. I had to get the crank polished and machined the block and the heads. So we're using 034 gaskets on there from, was it Cosmetic or so? I forget who they were that they're using. Anyways, it's 034 head gaskets, and the surface area wasn't machined properly, or it was basically from an old gasket. So we had that brought down to what was it, an RA, under RA 30. I think it's like an RA 10 right now, or something less than that. It was CNC machined. Same with the heads, that way that area is smooth. I don't have to worry about it. I did not use studs. I used regular OEM bolts for the heads. I didn't want to deal with bolting them down again. I know on some studded cars you gotta re-bolt it, like retorque them down after so many miles. I don't want to get involved with that. So I just put regular studs in there. A lot of everything else is all OEM. All the bolts, we replaced everything. What else? That's it, man. That's it. So hopefully I got everything in this video. I did everything in one take. I don't want to redo a bunch of editing on this. So I'm just looking around and trying to see if there's anything else. But no. See, this is actually the thermostat, and this area here is different on the CREC. And there's actually little pins that come off of this. I snapped them off to think if I can use this, and they don't fit through the little opening that they have on the CREC. So on the CCBA, it's a lot bigger. So these pins that come off fit right through. But when they fit through, the seal doesn't touch. It doesn't go down far enough. It needs a longer reach. It doesn't have. So that's why we had to go that route of using the CREC thermostat. I didn't see a way around it. But yeah, everything's here. Everything should be in this video now. I don't have anything else that I can remember. If I do, I'll make another one. And that's good. Peace.